If you look at this, and you look at the charts in the back of Bonnie's books, the latissimus dorsi is coming right across right where number 13 is going. So you have the muscles from the scapula, your infraspinatus, your teres major, minor, and your latissimus dorsi, kind of all causing havoc in that same area. So that's why number 13 is so important. But also, that also ties number 13 not only in with what's going on in the upper body, but what's going on in the lower back. Okay? And vice versa, we had one gal with really stubborn shoulder pain, and everybody was very thorough about her arms and her shoulders and her neck and her back and her axilla and her scapula. But it wasn't until we were more thorough in her lower back, the other end of the latissimus dorsi is what was keeping that shoulder pain hanging on, because it was the other end of latissimus, not necessarily the muscles going across the scapula. So sometimes it's just a matter of putting an anatomy book out and just look in it. The simpler the anatomy book, the better, because you get a better idea of where things are instead of looking at a whole mass of muscle fibers. Like the coloring anatomy book is a great one, and the musculoskeletal system in health and disease is a good one. Okay, so after 13, we're going to come up for the top of the shoulder, the ridge of the trapezius. We're going to do 2 points. Now here's her acromion process. It's that little bony part. Here's her collarbone, and the spine of the scapula are coming around, and where they come together here is your acromion process. We want to be on the inside edge, so if it's bony, now we're out a little bit too far. Come in where the bulky part of the muscle is, right about where the seam of her shirt would be, right on the ridge of the trapezius. We'll do one out by the acromion process and one closer to the neck. And again, here's a good place to work with your elbow. Start with no pressure. Just rest your arm down, not even the weight of your arm. Hold your arm up, elbow down. Where's your other hand? You want it comforting them, so put your other hand down, either holding your elbow in place or on their opposite shoulder. Roll up onto the point of your elbow. Don't press yet. And now just relax into it. If you start pressing before you get onto your point, you end up wasting energy, because you end up expending more energy than you need to. You usually end up pressing a little bit harder than you need to. So you start, come closer to the neck, elbow down, no pressure, roll up onto your point, no pressure. Get your shoulder a little bit forward so that if we're going straight up and down, if my shoulder's back here, I'm having to muscle it. If I get my shoulder up over my elbow, I can just relax down into.
Let me move out of the way and show them on the end of the table.
Okay. If I'm working on the table. Okay. If I'm the dents. If you look at the table, everything is nice. If I rest nice and smooth, if I rest my elbow, can you see how that makes a dent in the table? Okay. What I want to do is put my elbow down with no dents. I want to roll up onto the point of my elbow with no dents. And then I want to relax into it. When you're on a higher muscle, like a bulkier person, what you have to do, which is so different than massage, where you're sinking your hips, okay? In myotherapy, I need you to use your weight in order to save your shoulder. So what I want you to do, you can't use your weight if it's down here. So it's a whole different way of thinking and using your body. I need you to get your hips up so that you can get your shoulder forward of your elbow. And the reason for that is here's my orange elbow. Okay, well, this is brighter. If this is an extension of my elbow, if I roll up onto my elbow and relax into it, I'm pressing straight down. But look at what happens if I get my shoulder forward of my elbow. Can you see how that angles that pen back towards me? So instead of pressing down and pulling back, what we found, because one of our therapists was 6'3" or something, he found that he said, I'm so tall, if I just lean over, I can just relax into it and I don't have to pull back. So it is so much more therapist friendly to get your hips over, roll your shoulder forward of your elbow, and then when you relax into it, you're already angling back towards the midline, into the bulky part of the muscle. And it will save you from working harder than you need to, which doesn't seem like it makes that much of a difference if you're doing a handful of trigger points. But if you're doing an hour's worth of trigger points, or even 20 minutes of trigger points on one patient, and another patient, and another patient, by the end of the week, you have a sore shoulder, okay? So prolong your livelihood, save your shoulder. Okay, so we've got your second point was up closer to the neck, roll up onto the point, no pressure. Now for me, I'm short enough that if I go forward, I don't want to scrunch my shoulder up. I want to get my hips up so that I can, on her I probably am not going to need to really use my weight on the shoulders. On the glutes you might, and on the legs you might. But I'm in position where I can just let my arm relax, and that, for the most part, might do the work for me. And if I need more pressure, I can drop my hips. But when I drop my hips, I don't want to leave my shoulder up here. Because if I drop my hips and my shoulders up here, look at what these muscles are doing. They're all contracted. Okay? So what you want to do, elbow down, get your shoulder up, forward, get your hips up. And if you contract your abdominals and allow your body to sink as a unit, when my hips go down, my body weight is doing the work for me because I'm sinking as a unit, and it's taking the pressure off of the elbow, off of my shoulder rather. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, we've done the 2 on the ridge. Come just behind those 2 points for number 16. 15, 17, 16 is in between those points, slightly behind them. Here's the spine of her scapula. I'm going to be just above or just superior to the spine of her scapula in the bulky part of the muscle, because basically you're looking for bulky part of the muscle, and for the most part you're not plunking in as much as you're, aside from rolling onto the point of your elbow, you're rolling over the fibers of the muscle and trying to kind of come in between the fibers of the muscle. And that's usually where we will find the trigger points, are either in between the muscles themselves, 2 different muscles, or in between the fibers of a broad muscle, like here on the trapezius.
No, I was just getting that out of your way.
Okay, anybody have any questions? We'll work a little bit more with the elbow work tomorrow, because what you'll find is if you're making a fist, it takes you off of the point. If your hand is turned in a different direction, it might put you more on the point. If your elbow is more open or more closed, that makes a difference. And what I'll have you do is experiment on your own hand to see where your elbow is sharpest. Okay, because it makes a difference. And what also, as Ina was saying, we have different bodies, different shapes, different sensitivity levels. That all makes a difference with getting you used to adapting your body to the body that's on the table. Because if you're used to working with a body that has this amount of musculature and tension, you hold your body a certain way. And then all of a sudden you get to somebody who's shorter and your angles are all off. Now you've got to roll differently or less. So, or if you have somebody that can't sit up straight, it changes your angles. So the more bodies you work on, the more you get used to feeling like it's not just this way. It's this way on this muscle, but it's that way on that muscle. Okay? So you kind of get used to how to use your body and how to use your body to listen to the body that you're working on. Because the key thing with, actually, the one thing I'm not seeing in here that I have to correct in almost every seminar we've done is people that are focusing so hard on going in the right place, they're not paying any attention to the body under them, and they're killing each other. I mean, people have got their shoulders up to their ears. I'm sure you saw that in the last workshop, because I think this is one of the first workshops where I haven't had to say, relax your wrist. I mean, I'm usually saying it up until Saturday, late afternoon, because it's focusing. You're so focused that you're not paying attention. But you guys all look like you're much more relaxed, which is you're ahead of the game. Okay? Which the person underneath you appreciates. Okay. So we've done back of the neck, 18, 13, and across the traps.
Don't forget the exercise.
So to stretch that, one of the things that you can do with your patients while they're sitting here in the chair is put your hands on their shoulders and press down, then rock one shoulder and then the other. That's just a kind of a nice little easy stretch. Okay? For their stretches, you're going to have them do the shoulder shrug, pull the arms up and press down. Shoulders up and press down, up and down. Tuck the head under for the back of the neck and turn the head to one side and then the other. And my hands are just guiding. If you have somebody with severe neck pain, sometimes going from this much to that much is enough to throw them back into spasm. So I usually let them move their own head unless they need help. Okay? And for scapula, put one arm out in front, turn under and stretch out away from you, up and relax. Turn under and stretch out away from you, up and relax. Under and stretch out, that's it, and up. Turn way under and stretch way out. There you go, okay?